Welcome back to the Two Promises Podcast. Let's dive right into another exciting adventure with BD and crew as he pursues his new passion of one day finding the most epic bourbon. The Two Promises team send their special thanks to Hobie and the Huckleberries for their masterful theme music. So grab a glass, relax, and enjoy responsibly.
Baby says she's leaving if I don't stop drinking wine. So I switched to whiskey and I'm feeling fine. Drinking that smooth, smooth whiskey. No more wine. I like straight bourbon. Baby, you try the ride.
You've been very value-based in your aspirations and in your decision-making. So even way back when you were wanting to join the Army, you had this desire, this value of, I want to serve my country. However, this particular arm of service to my country goes against some of your core values. There was some non-combatants being injured during the conflict, and you knew that that was not a place that you wanted to be, but you still had this strong desire to do something to serve the country. So you went through the adversity of the no's, the rejections, and you found a way to get into the military and still serve, which led to a very long process of trying to work for an airline to fulfill your dream and your goal. And during this time, there was more resistance, more setbacks. Time and time again, there was closed doors. And during that time, you also had to make some other values-based decisions. Whenever you had these critical decision points in your life, it sounds like there was always a core value of yours that pushed you down a path, whether it was a relationship, whether it was a job, and you having held true to these values over the course of time, and now you've developed a legitimate empire, $7 million in real estate, hundreds of units, doing these other deals to double what you already have, and then tragedy strikes again. So in any of these times, what was going on in you internally? What was in your mind, in your heart? What were you experiencing?
Well, my parents were relatively religious. Not that they went to church every Sunday, but I had two aunts that were in the choir, and my mother and father would go probably every other Sunday. And I went to Sunday school and all that sort of stuff. And as is the case with, unfortunately, so many kids these days, you go off to college, although I didn't travel away from home for college, I lost my interest in my own theology about the Creator. So when all of these things were finished with me, and we're going 10 years of hell,
Right,
including losing everything and becoming penniless, I was actually picking up bottles and cans along the side of the road there for a while for gas money.
Wow.
That's how broke. Social Security or no unemployment insurance, because I never contributed to it, because I kind of always was doing my own thing. A few years I was working for that airline, but I didn't build up much that I could have used for unemployment. Then my property manager, she got pregnant when I first met her. I never knew her husband or boyfriend, whatever, but he bailed on her. And she said, what am I going to do? Because she and I had a lot of friends in common. I said, I don't know. What do you think? And she said, I think I'm just going to go on welfare. I'm going to be home with my baby. This woman was very, very capable of a quick learn, no matter what you deliver for her. So she said, can I work for you? I said, well, what do you know about real estate? She said, nothing. I said, well, neither did I 10 years ago. I studied creative financing, fiscal strategy, refinance, and all those other. So I said, you can manage my properties because I'm getting too big. I can't manage everything anymore. I can't grow anymore. When she came on board with me, she took a lot of stuff off my shoulders, and all of a sudden I doubled from like 50 units to 126 units. She took all that pressure off me, renting apartments and also. So when the bankruptcy happened, she was out of a job.
Right.
She didn't panic. What am I going to do?
It affected not just you, but also your employee who was dependent on that for her well-being.
I said, well, I'm going to pat myself on the back right now, but you had a very, very interesting man who taught you real estate management. and the care and feeding of tenants.
Right.
And you could take that body of knowledge anywhere in the nation because of your credentials. And certainly you'll get a good letter from me. From me, 126 units, she went on to another company, a real estate investment company in Boston with 2,000 units.
Wow.
From there, she went on to another one with 6,000 units. And with that second one, she was managing other property managers. So she did very well for herself.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah. Direct result of your mentorship and
Yeah.
the work that you guys did together.
Yeah. I mean, she's like a sister to me. We still talk once in a while on the phone. She loves my wife. She loves my kids. So anyway, her little girl is now, a few years ago, 25, 30. She got married. So her daughter's name is Erin. Erin called me, Uncle Denny, you're going to be able to, she always called me Uncle Denny, you're going to come to the wedding. I said, yeah, I can't. I mean, it's in Maine. Renee is an assistant attorney general here in Connecticut. She's in court all the time. It's so impossible for her to get time off. I know this bothers me to say no, and I know it hurts you too, but practically speaking, I don't know how we could do this. So she was upset, but that was it. We got off the phone, and I said to Renee, I can't let her down for the first time in her life, because I was like a surrogate father to her. I have to go, and I'm going to surprise her. So my wife said, well, if it's that important to you, then all of us will go. We'll take 3 days, go up to Portland, Maine. So she didn't know I'm coming. She goes up the aisle. I'm at the end of the pew, but she didn't see the back of my head. Goes up the ceremony, comes back down. She spots me. Brent, she starts crying like a baby. Oh, Daddy. She could not believe that I brought my family up there as a surprise.
That is awesome.
At the reception, and we couldn't really stay because we had to drive back to Connecticut. But her mom, Josephine, came over to me. She said, Danny, my father wants to talk to you. And just then I see him coming. I'd met him once before. Puts his arms around me. He's crying. And he said, Dan, if it wasn't for you, Josephine would probably still be on welfare. Erin would never have been able to go to school, to college. By then she was a news anchor for a station up in Maine, Portland, Maine. And from there, she now developed her own program on TV. Very successful young woman. But he said it's all because you gave Josephine a chance.
That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Anyway, what Josephine also did for me was when I was losing everything and I'm packing up my stuff out of my big 13-room home up in Linfield, Mass. With my dog and my cat, very, very tough thing to let go of. Josephine said, you need to get back to church. I said, well, that was a pretty direct statement. She said, and she's pointing up to God, he's jobbing you. You go back and read the book of Job. That's exactly what's happening to you. He has tested you through your whole life with all these crazy setbacks, but he's got something in the works for you if you recognize him and keep the faith. So I went to a church right around the corner from me in Linfield, Mass. And the minister was a gifted orator. He just captivating to listen to. So I became part of that church and really kind of found myself through God again with him. He spent a lot of time talking with me. He couldn't believe the stuff I had been through in my lifetime. We both had birthdays of September 6th. I always reminded him, you're the older one, though. Just don't ever forget that. He had this great laugh. Wonderful man. He died, and I wrote a glowing obituary for him in the Boston Globe newspaper. Love what I wrote about. Basically, he saved my life because I was thinking of suicide.
Wow.
Because what happened back in the day of the Depression and the stock market crash, I mean, guys were jumping off buildings. They lost everything. They didn't know how do I read? I figured out ways to reinvent myself enough times, but I was kind of tired of reinventing myself.
Right. Yeah. This is like marathon after marathon.
Yeah. So, I moved back to Connecticut. My mother was going downhill. I had already taken care of my father for about 10 years. Back and forth, Boston, Stratford, Connecticut for years. And then I got a couple of years off of good behavior. Then my mother started going downhill. I said, I got to move to Connecticut. I can't do this back. So I moved down here and I met my wife right after I moved down here. And the rest is history. 2 beautiful kids. We're very active in our church. I'm a deacon in my church, and she's on every board there is at church. So it was what that bankruptcy did for me, Brent, was it got me grounded in all the right things. Because until then, the money I was making in real estate was obscene. And it was all about Dennis Bollier. And it was greed. I need another building. Where else can I, what other, and, I learned that it's not about how much you accomplish in life. It's what you accomplish, who you leave your imprint on. So anyway, that's my story, Brent. I'm sticking to it.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I can definitely see that this transition, yes, you were successful. You did all these great things in real estate, but it wasn't, yes, maybe some of the motive there for a while was kind of selfish, but even still, you were mentoring and you were pouring into the lives of others. And this is kind of something that I've described as like the spillover effect, that you've had the leadership, you have the background, you have the knowledge and the experience. And whenever you are able to invest that in the community or invest that in someone else, there's just a spillover of good that comes out of it, whether it's, you're planting those seeds, you're doing that work, that there will be a return in kind. And it sounds like the return in kind was those lives that you affected. So Josephine and her daughter, and the way that you were able to, quite frankly, change the life of generations in that family and set them up to be the best versions of themselves. So you, throughout all that, you had this heart of a mentor, this desire for helping others, which I've been a benefactor of. I've seen you pour into other people outside of just me, and that is extremely admirable trait.
Thank you. Thank you. Very nice to say. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So I know you said you got a lot of it from your dad, that he set the example. He showed you, taught you, not just by saying, but by doing. You always find a way. You're going to make sure that you can provide for yourself, for your family. So you have that track record of just sticking through it and sucking it up, whatever, gutting it up and getting through it. So what insights can you share about your mindset through these experiences that really enabled you to pull through and find that level of success and fulfillment that you just described when you said the rest is history?
Well, losing everything in real estate, and I thought I was pretty much of a hotshot, still single, making all this money, traveling the world, brand new BMWs and stuff. It's all junk, tchotchke stuff. And what that bankruptcy taught me was I really following my passion? Is that what Dennis Bollier is all about? It should not be about greed. I learned that turning back to my creator. And I've been studying health, wellness, nutritional supplement science, later transitioning into nutraceutical science, which is a higher level of nutritional supplement science. And why don't I start teaching that stuff? So I opened myself up to the world. I have this passion within me. I've got an encyclopedia up here of studying, learning, going to lectures or whatever. And that opened doors in my new path of the passion of my life and health. I met some very important people that way. I won't name names, but one of them is known nationally. Another one was department head at a local university here in Connecticut. He put me on as a guest lecturer in his graduate class. And it went over so well that a year or two later he said, "You want to start teaching?" I said, "Yes." Yeah, my kids were babies at the time. I said, "I don't want to be out too much at night. I want to be home with them." But he said, "Why don't you teach a couple nights a week?" So I said, "Okay, fine." So he had me doing a syllabus for a graduate class of family health. So I was teaching nursing students or nurses who were getting their graduate degree in public health. I was teaching public health nurses who worked for cities and towns, and just regular kids who found that interesting to learn. That then evolved into doing personal health coaching, where I've always had a home office here in my home. So I would have people come here, and we would go through a 2, 3, 4 hour intake of their whole lifestyle. How do they prepare, and so on. Exercise, water, the whole gamut of, I call it spokes of wellness. There's a whole bunch of different spokes. So I would test them on each one of them. And it worked out very, very well for those people. In fact, interesting, one of the guys I helped with his cancer, we turned it around. I can't say that I cured his cancer, but he will say that. He flew with John McCain in the Enterprise in the Tonkin Gulf, I think in Vietnam. They flew together. He was a lieutenant commander, I think. Anyway, nice man. So I got a lot of enjoyment out of that, but there's not a lot of money in that. And I had 2 kids. I getting ready for college. So I decided to put together this Employee Health Matters concept where I could take this body of knowledge and deliver it to a workforce with the hope of getting the employees and their families healthier and to reduce maybe 1 sick day a year or 1 absenteeism, whatever. And that started working out very well. I had a whole cadre of people that were going to do lectures with me in different areas of health and wellness, healthy cooking for kids to improve their academic potential, and also a lot of different things. And then COVID hit. So I spent 2 years putting this company together. It got shut down. So here we go again.
Right. Yeah.
But now I put it back together again. It's all digital, and I am beginning to record my own lectures, and other people that work with will be doing their own individual specialty work, and then we're going to be delivering this to employers. So that's where I am now.
That's absolutely fantastic. So it sounds like we're just kind of bringing back some of these topics that we talked about back around, going from you had your mentee kind of mention, hey, you're going through this Job experience. You've been living, having watched everything you've worked for just kind of taken for you abruptly many, many times throughout your life. And that led you on a course for a spiritual revival. You got back in touch with the Creator, with God, and you met spiritual mentor. And then around that time, I met your wife, had some kids right in that time, and then you've been scaling educational business based a lot on working as the adjunct professor and what you've learned there. You mentioned some spokes of wellness. Would you mind sharing some of those with us?
Well, there's hydration, there's stress management, sleep habits, eating habits. There's a number of different ones in it. And I can go on down any one of those spokes and do an hour presentation, which I've done. I've given talks for years. And thank God I saved them all. So they're in my computer here. I'm using all that as my encyclopedia to put together this education program for employers.
Wow, that's awesome. That sounds extremely valuable. And I know it's going to help a lot of people in their own individual well-being, and then also the employers themselves. That is an immense amount of just wisdom. So it sounds like this is where you're kind of turning the page, and this is your new expression of all of the lessons you've learned throughout your life, all of the challenges that you've overcome. And then it sounds like in order to have this level of resilience, you really need to start with a healthy body and mind.
Yeah, and because I've studied this stuff for 50 years, I mean, there are a lot of people today, they take a 4-hour course on the internet, and all of a sudden they're a health coach, and they're well-meaning. I don't mean to discredit them, but I've been looking at this stuff for 50 years. So I know how to practice what I preach, and I have, and I'm turning 81, and I'm in perfect health. My blood work is right down the middle. Every single parameter is flawless. I've got stupid guy things, injuries. I've hurt my shoulder, splitting wood, and my knee, building stone walls, crazy stuff. But those are all mechanical things. But overall health, I'm virtually, I hate to be this brazen, but I'm perfect. I mean, my doctor can't get over what the story is with my biomarkers of aging. He said, you're 25 years younger than your stated age.
So amazing.
It can be done, is my point. I demonstrate.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, years ago, I had a woman, I knew her through a Chamber of Commerce, and she was, I forget what her name was, but she had so many degrees after her name, it went to the edge of her business card. So she said, Dennis, I'd love to work with you with Employee Health Matters. He's 5'2", and I hate to say this, but probably 250 pounds. She's not the picture of health. I could help her get healthier, but I can't have her teach health because the image she has of herself, and she's given up on health. So, it's such a lovely woman. I wish I could help her, but she didn't want my help. She wanted to teach health because she's got so many degrees. So the people that I have that are on board with me, they walk the walk. They're all very healthy people.
That is absolutely excellent. And I think that's very important, is leading by example. And that's something that you demonstrate time and time again throughout your life. So what does the future look for you with your company, your family? What are the next ridge lines that you're seeking to accomplish?
The way I've designed this company, I could do this from anywhere. I could be sitting in Tangiers in Morocco, orchestrate this via electronic media now, because everything's going to be videoed. And by the way, I've been to Tangiers too.
Wow.
I travel the world, long time.
All over.
Yeah. So what I see, Brent, is that all of these setbacks, we are at any given moment all that's happened up until that moment. And all those things have given me, starting with not taking no when I was 4F. I said, I'm going to serve. He said, this is war. What are you, nuts? I said, that's why I'm here. So that gave me a dynamic that's innate in me. And all these other things that have happened have created more and more dynamics. And I now sit at this moment in time as a compilation of all of these things that have happened to me. And although I'm unhappy with the way some of the things worked out, I'm very happy where I am now with a beautiful wife, beautiful family. To your question, what's going to happen with EHM, my future? We're going to be moving to Virginia probably a couple of years from now to be closer to our kids. Our son is with one of the big four accounting firms. He's a CPA, and my daughter just got her master's in teaching last May, so her first year teaching first grade in Richmond, Virginia. So they're both in Virginia. He's in D.C. and she's in Richmond. So we see ourselves moving down there, but my point is that I can take this company anywhere. And I had an international guru in business expansion who I know. And that's another thing, Brent. I've been very blessed with getting to know some very significant people who have seen lots of potential in me, besides all the setbacks I've had, maybe because of all the setbacks I've had. And she said to me, you don't have a local Connecticut business here. You've got a national business. And as you get Connecticut tightened up before you move to Virginia, keep the Connecticut accounts and clients you have here, have somebody run that, go to Virginia, do it all over again. And then now you got 2 states, and now you can expand nationally from there. And she said, you're going to live to be 100 years old. I mean, you're going to be obnoxiously healthy later on in life, too. So that's my plan.
Man, that sounds absolutely incredible. It sounds like what you've kind of stated is that your life up to this point and the success that you've cultivated within your personal life, within your professional life, it's really been consistent decision makings and good decision making based off of, the circumstances you're presented with, but also the values. So all of these big and small decisions over time have really come together to help you plateau in a level of success within your family, within your work, and then also being able to tap into great mentors who've been able to, just like you've poured into others, they've been able to give you advice, guide you throughout time. And then now you are set to really scale and take your company, Employee Health Matters, all across the nation. That is so exciting. I'm so excited to be along with you on that journey, to watch you throughout everything you've done, just being able to interact with you in some of our networking events and learning engagements, and then also all the time that you've set aside on a weekly basis just to work with me individually. I do want to say I'm very, very appreciative and I'm very grateful. And I know you're going to continue to do great things. I know we focused a lot on the reinvention and on the resilience aspect. And I don't want that to take away from all of these great milestone successes that you really have achieved throughout your lifetime. It's just been kind of a focus that I've been wanting to kind of drill down on. And since you have such a depth of experience and so many things that you've gone through, I really wanted to kind of pull out those parts of your background, not to detract away from the successes that you have generated.
Well, thank you. And I don't know whether you felt you're getting a little too personal with some of the stuff I've been through, but I didn't think that. But if you did think, maybe you pushed me a little too far. Didn't at all. I'm very proud of what I've done after all the setbacks in my life, and never taken no for an answer, and always reinventing myself, dusting myself off. It's not been easy to do, but I always, came back for more. So we mentioned before about getting mugged in the Army. We were told at Keesler Air Force Base, stay away from, I can't remember, there's a town around New Orleans where it's kind of rough and tumble town. And Lake Charles, Louisiana, I think. It's off limits. And you've been in the military, you don't go to a place like that because you can get in trouble. And if you do get in trouble in a place like that, you're really in trouble with your commanding officer when you get back to base.
Yep.
So a buddy of mine, Brian DePaul from Philadelphia, and I decided, well, that's got to be where all the girls and bars are. So let's go there.
That's why it's off limits, because it's so much fun.
Yeah. So we got mugged by 6 guys, and we were holding our own for a while until Brian broke away and ran off. I'm sorry. I fought my way out of the fight first. That's right. And I started running away, but I looked back and I figured he's right behind me, but he wasn't, because now they're all ganged up on him. And they're kicking him and punching him. And Bruce, what was going on? So I'm the hero. I got to jump back in to save my buddy. So I did. I really hurt 2 of them very, very bad. We kicked one guy in the face, and Bruce, another guy, I hit him in the very private part with all my might. And so in that last moment of fighting, somebody pulled a switchblade on me. It's a knife that clicks open, has a very distinctive sound to it. And it was right next to my eyes, right here. So I saw the switchblade, and I said, well, this is it. This is where I'm dying right now. Some crazy, inhuman strength came over me. And I fought my way out of that. I was on the ground with a guy on top of me. I got out of there.
Wow.
I can't explain how I did that. But go back to the barracks, and I got blood all over my shirt and stuff. And drill sergeant comes in the next morning, or not drill sergeant, first sergeant. Bollier, my shirt was in the sink with the blood all over it and name tags on it. I got in a lot of trouble. Lesson learned.
Right. But you made it out of there.
Yeah. And my buddy Brian, he was no longer my buddy. And I said, man, you left me behind. This game over. You forget you knew me.
Right. Yeah, you went back for him. You put yourself in danger. Speed, surprise, and violence of action got you out of it, but not without taking some heavies.
Yeah. And then speaking of that, I did lose 2 friends in Vietnam, which has always still today bothers me. And I've often thought I should have done more for my country. And that's caused a little bit of depression in my life, because so many of people I knew went to Vietnam. We all signed up together. Some of us did reserve, some of us did active duty, and some got killed. So I felt like I didn't do as much as I could have, as some other very dear friends of mine did. And it's been bothering me. I've had a little bit of a degree of, not insecurity, just wish I did more. I'll leave it at that. It's hard to talk about.
Gotcha. Yeah. Would you say that some of these feelings maybe are helping drive you today to help you continue contributing, continue to pour into the community, and make the world a better place?
Yeah, I feel like in a way I'm trying to make up for what I didn't do for my country. I'm trying to make up for getting people healthier, and that's really my passion. It's been my passion my whole life. So, I mean, I look at my fraternity brothers from college, and they were all my age, and, well, I've lost about 4 of them already. And the others guys got cancer, got this, got that, whatever. And they never listened to me. I was their old drinking buddy from college. What does he really know? But look at him now.
Right.
Look at them now.
Right.
So, but they never wanted to listen to me, so they're all very, very ill.
Wow.
And, I said to my wife recently, and maybe we can finish up on this. I had a posse of guys that were from my fraternity, University of Bridgeport, that we've been friends forever, 60 years. And we're still talking to each other.
That's awesome.
So, but that's been my posse. Now, most of them are dead. But I said, I really find myself getting into a new posse with the group that you and I are part of. It's a bunch of veterans, for those who don't know our other life. We are part of a mentoring group at veterans, and it's really my anchor now. I love those Monday night calls that we do in support of each other, and it's a good, rock solid that will never replace my posse from college, but it's nice to have that network. We all went to Rhode Island last year for 4 days, very intense learning, and that's where Brett and I first met. And I think we're going to be friends forever. So that's like my next generation of a posse. I got a new one.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm in your corner. I'm excited, and I'm excited to see all the growth that we can do together. One more question before we wrap up. You've got this passion for health. You've got this vision for a healthier America, which that's one of the reason I'm touching on it is because it's one of my core values too. I believe that it is important for us to take care of our bodies, to maximize our potential, and that is just one of the foundational steps of being a human, being a man, being a person on this earth, man, woman, child. So what's kind of your vision for this health movement? How do you see yourself integrating with improving the health within the States? And what's your vision there?
Well, one of my passions has always been learning. I love learning. I love reading. I love studying. There's a marketing guru, he just passed recently, a couple of years ago, Bob Proctor. And one of his axioms is, when it comes to learning, there's no finish line. And I live by that. So I'm still studying health and wellness. I love doing it. And as far as today's health and wellness picture, RFK, whether you like him or not, he's the new health czar of the country. He said on the news last night that when his uncle, JFK, was in the White House, 3% of adults were. Today it's almost 80%.
Wow.
He said, we are going in such an opposite direction than we should, and it's because nobody talks about it.
Right. Right.
I had a woman from my church who begged me for years, help me with my weight. She was grotesquely overweight, still is. And I said, you got to figure out why you did this to your body first. No, I'm fine. I just want to know what I should eat. So she finally came here. I didn't charge her. We spent 3 hours together. And I said, what the hell created this to begin with? This body that you're looking at, and when you look in the mirror and you're complaining about it all the time. So she finally came out of the closet, if you will, and said, I was gang raped in high school.
Wow.
So I've hidden inside this fat person so nobody will look at me.
Wow.
I said, I had a feeling it was something like that, but now you're out of my league. That's not something I can help you with. When you decide this is no longer your identity, because you created this as your identity, when you want to move away from that identity and find another identity, that's where I could help you, and I could turn you around in 1 year. So, but that's an example of we have become a fat society, a heavy society. And we just accept that's our identity. Potato chips, the ice cream, whatever.
That is absolutely amazing. And that's very powerful stuff, that identity piece and what we rely on, what we identify with, and how that shapes our subconscious actions, our deliberate actions. That's very deep and profound. It's also a foundational point of a lot of values and work that I'm in. We'll definitely talk more about that in the future. I do want to thank you again for coming on the call, for providing all of your wisdom to our listeners. And I'd like to turn it over to you for the last word. Anything you want to say to close it up?
Sure. Never give up. Things happen. And at any given moment, we're a compilation of everything that's happened before that moment. Good, the bad, the suffering, the joy. And that's what makes us, fills in all the blanks on our tombstone from the beginning to the end. It's all of that stuff. What we want to do, or we should want to design our path to accomplish, is what have we contributed? Where have we made a change for the good in people's lives? And I'm happy that I think I will always be able to reflect on. I was a mentor for a lot of people. I was an example for a lot of people, and not happy with all the things that happened to me, but I'm happy that I kept getting up.
Absolutely. And we are very thankful that you keep getting up as well. Thank you again so much for your time, for being on this call, and we'd like to have you on again soon. Thank you so much.
All right, Brent, thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on this curious roller coaster of life. If this is your stop, please exit peacefully. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you're ready for another one, just push play. Just a final note before you go, thank you, and thank you for feeling. The distillation and aging process is different for everyone. I'm not quite sure what you're ready for. Sip slowly and enjoy responsibly.
Baby says she's leaving if I don't stop drinking wine. So I switched to whiskey and I'm feeling fine. Drinking that slow whiskey. No more